Hey everybody, welcome to episode 143 of the Bonehead Podcast, where we talk all things Blood Bowl. And jingle. Welcome back, I'm Ben, and once again I'm joined by Siege Worker Ben. BT, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. I'm melting in this heat. It's far too hot.
And fresh off the Siege podcast, which we'll pester you about in a minute.
Yeah.
But we're also joined...
It should be out, actually.
Huh? It'll be out
It
before
should
this
be
one.
out.
Yeah, I know. We're also joined by the very cool Ian Triple Power Triplo. Trips, how you doing?
Not too bad. Warm as well, but enjoying hiding away from the sun in true British fashion.
Yes.
Put your non-warm light source there, and well, all 17 of them.
Yeah, I do. I like the color palette. It's a very chill color palette. But yeah, it's warm in England. BT, we had you round on Monday for Monday Night Blood Bowl. We replaced Ian with another Ian, just to spread the pain. And it was 28 in the studio in the evening, which was probably the limit.
I'm pretty sure there was a good moment of Ian leaning over, and you're like, you looked visibly anxious that the sweat was going to drip into the
actually
onto the pitch.
Oh, you can't see him, but I think I've paused it on that point. In the background. Okay, so episode 143 BT. What's our topics today?
It's a really good one today. We're going to be talking about tilting. It's very, very fresh because I in particular, for sure, have had a really rough streak of Blood Bowl lately, both on the channel and on Fumble. Less so in tournaments, it's been all right, but yeah, it's just, I think it's really important to talk about like how bad play, or not bad play, sorry, but bad luck can really hurt your experience and how you deal with that.
Interesting you say that you feel like tournaments have gone all right. I'm going to come back to that because I think there's a very good reason for that. But yes, before we do that, we'll bounce into a little bit of hobby for old time's sake. Okay, so hobby games. Anybody done anything exciting over the last couple of weeks that we can touch on quickly?
Yeah, I've done a couple of things. I'm just going to move this.
Is there a professional painter on the podcast that can talk about what he's been doing?
There we go. Not camera operator apparently. But yeah, no. I've painted several teams for the channel. So if you've seen those, yeah, one of them's up here with the gnomes. I did that a little while back. But yeah, also managed to get the Amazons and lizards done as well, didn't we? Which I think really
the Amazons were just unnecessarily lovely. Like the lizards were great, the lizards were really great, but that Amazon, the bright yellow glow on the armor was just wicked.
Yeah, that was good fun. Yeah, we invented the light swipe swipe light technique on the stream, which was really fun, where you use airbrush cleaner as like a dry brush on ink, and it kind of like takes away at the raised edges as but it's like a smooth blend rather than like a chalky dry brush. It looked really good. Yeah, and I've just finished up a brush tithe commission for Armor Armadillo. We've got a Grebo Necromantic team and Undead team. I've just finished up the metal team. It's a big job.
I was going to ask if it was metal.
Yeah. But honestly, really good. Like Grebo does metal, I think, as best as metal can be. They look really good. I'm a big fan of it. But yeah, it was metal's always a bit of an issue to work with sometimes.
Yeah, he shared some of the ghosty pictures, and that looks unreasonably good, but does not look like a quick and easy thing to do.
Yeah, no, the ghosts weren't too bad actually. That did come out all right. I think a good trick with the ghostly effect, because everyone sort of is aware of, add some white and put lilac oxide and you kind of got a ghost effect. But I think having an undercoat of like a really thinned wash before you do the white, so you can kind of pick out colors that the ghost would wear, I think that works really nicely because it gives a little bit of more visual interest than just being one color. You've kind of got like little tones in there. It doesn't add a lot of time.
We do like painting techniques that don't add a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's funny to think of a time before there was lilac oxide. Like, I don't even remember how we would try and paint ghosts like back in the Warhammer Fantasy 6th edition era, I think they ended up just literally being white. Like it was just
yeah,
like
I guess you could have maybe thinned down a blue, mixed in some white, and made that really thin.
I don't know if we even bothered with that. I think it was just like, no, can't even do this. Like this is white. This is fine.
Spray can white.
Over metal without priming. Oh, those are the times. Those were the days. The glory years of the hobby. No, the Sun team's wicked. I do have it up on the back here. But all the teams that you've done for the championship have been really cool, man. Like hugely appreciate it, and it's just very, very, very cool. It's made the whole thing look, I think, really good.
Yeah, it's been a busy month.
It's been, yeah. How about
you playing with them?
Yes, painting. It was quite funny. Like on Monday, someone was like, "Oh, with the preview videos, would it be possible for you to show the teams?" I was like, no. I mean, yes, in round 2, but in round 1, I think like 5 of the 8 teams are still being painted, like on the Monday. Which I did.
Nothing like, don't touch this one for the first 2 turns. Why?
Because some of them had wet basing for sure. Like I think PVA drying. What we're playing.
But it's very, very cool, man. It's very cool. What's the next project on Brush Tithe?
I'm working on a vampire team this week.
Ooh,
which
yes.
should be done by the end of the week. Kind of needs to be done by the end of the week.
G-Dub?
And then, yes, G-Dub vampire with the Vargeist.
With the four-dry Varg.
Yep. Really good model. Really good model. And then it's a squig team from Brute Fun.
Yes.
Brute Fun. And then straight into Death Guard after that. So that's going to be good.
Ooh.
Tuck into some armies.
Well, that's some technical paints and oils and stuff, surely, when it comes to Nurgle. Yeah. Milton's not here today, but he is, I think, in the throes of starting to paint up a Nurgle team for the channel, one of the Punga Contagion teams, which is very cool. I'm very excited for that. Milton's painting has just been like quietly, excellently coming along, and I'm very excited to see him tackle Nurgle. I think that's going to look really, really, really good. No, trips, bits and bobs. What have you been up to, dude? Anything fun? Anything exciting?
So I'm nearly at the point of finishing 3 Munda gangs, which I'm doing at the same time just to keep me entertained. So I'm doing an Escher gang, an Orlok gang, and a Goliath gang.
Oh,
and I'm at
the classics.
Lovely stage of picking the details out now, just to make them really work, and finding all the little metal bits and the awesome models that are the Goliath models, just trying to make them truly look like you don't want to be anywhere near them.
Proper meatheads. The fact you managed to build them, I think, is a huge achievement. Like, I got my pox of Palatine Enforcers, and like, it's like 11 pieces on each model. I was like, no, you know what? We're done. I've got 4 guys. That's been 3 days. That's all right.
The best bit about those, you spend all the time doing it, and then you've got this great big shield which sort of covers everything, and you're like, do I paint it first, or do I just slap it on and cover up the holes?
I spent 3 hours scraping off those mold lines. I need to be coloured up by some.
Yes.
I don't think mold lines are worth it on Games Workshop plastic kits. As much as that, the models and the poses and the sculpts are amazing, but it's just there's always just like gappy gap bits, and you're like, don't worry about it. But no, are you? I mean, I know you've been kind of loitering expectantly on the Necromunda, the new Necromunda set trips. Is that going in the basket?
That's definitely going in the basket. So this was part of the clear some of the backlog, so I didn't feel quite so guilty that I had a complete set of primed gangs, and I have some painted now. So that'll give me, I think that'll take me to 6 painted gangs. So I feel like I can justify to assemble something if Games Workshop ever drop those models.
Yeah, weird one. They've taken a little while on that. Just pause that there. I've realised I don't want anyone to be. I want spoilers to be given away by the fact we've got the Monday Night Blood Bowl game in the background.
Good game.
That's a very good game. Yeah, no, they spoiled another one of the Gene Stealer models for it this week, didn't they? So the closest thing we've had to Games Workshop news. Confused about the one random giant hand, but it is like they are pumping out a load of cool looking models for that. I don't think any of them have been released yet.
What was the giant hand? What was the giant hand about?
There's a Gene Stealer. Alpha, which is basically a Broodlord.
Okay.
But he's all gene stealery, and then just one of his hands looks like it's off. The hand actually looks like it's off the old orc gene steal, the old orc tyrannid that with the mortar. You know, he's got the two big hands that like just plowing into the ground so that he can shoot as a gun, and it just one random large fist. It's like Hellboy, but less manageable.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's wicked. That's wicked. Hobby-wise, I've been painting teams as well, or at least a team. I did the OWA team ready for the stream, and I'm working on the pitch. I got my little spray bottles so that I can cover the pitch in Agrax before I do the. I've got a whole stack of static grass there from Green Stuff World, but it's too hot at the moment, so I'm waiting for it to be a bit cloudy, a little bit. I just don't want it. I don't want the Agrax to dry in the air before it hits it. I wanted to actually go on the pitch.
The dusting.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I do have another OWA player to paint, but that's nice. That's a good place to be. It's really, really satisfying now. All the teams are done for the championship. And they were already kind of
behind you on the shelves. You can start seeing the shelves behind Ben are starting to populate with the championship teams.
Yeah.
As opposed to the dreams of the championship team.
I did order more of the cake boards so I can cut them down so we can have more of the teams up there as it comes in, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's been a good little bit of hobby stuff, which has been fun. But the championship games have just been so much fun, and like I appreciate both of you massively for being around every Monday. We got Ian Warhammer involved because he was painting the Goblin team for us because he's bit of a painter, multiple award-winning painter, and just a bit of a goblin head, so it just felt right. And it was always good to give Trips a bit of a night off as well. So we're going to see if we can get him back on for the next goblin game. But apparently there's a scheduling conflict with beavers, and Ian needs to get his badges. So maybe not. But first month of the championship is done. First 4 weeks, and I don't know, guys. Initial thoughts on how it's gone?
No, it's been great. It's so much fun. It's what we wanted, right? We wanted just to be able to meet up weekly and play Blood Bowl as well as talk about it every fortnightly. So it's just really good to be back and like having these really cool teams, and this I think the production is looking great. I'd like even having it in the background. I know it's like our thing, and it's, you know, we're going to say that, but I think it really does look good, and we've had good feedback on that as well. So
yeah,
great fun.
It's been really great. The testing that we did in the run up to it means that we're not worrying about the stream and the production and the detail. I'm sure you are, Ben, with the camera angles and detail, but Ben and I are now able to really concentrate on playing the games, and it looks so good that people are really appreciating it, which is partly why we do it, and the other reason is to have fun. But there have been some cracking games in the first 4 weeks as well, proper like making you think, playing along with it. Some miraculous plays, some dice that have been truly entertaining, and it's been the most fun sort of set of league games ever, and we're really getting those personalities coming through of the great players, the useless players, the players that have dreams of doing something. And looking forward to seeing how the teams start to develop up.
Yeah, I mean, we're only one game in for each of the teams, but it feels like it feels like they are settling quite nicely, which is really cool. And I mean, we were talking the other day, BT, weren't we, like just about like how leagues are so good because of the player development and stuff, but being able to share a league is, I think, the absolute best way to play Blood Bowl. And you know, with Wobble kind of like our local league changed a bit after COVID. Like it was the thing was like the tables never went back. We used to have like a big long bank of tables or a couple of bank of tables. So you'd be sat and there'd be someone playing a game on the left and someone playing a game on the right, and you'd have conversations and you'd share the stories, and you'd get like brands, you'd get people, you'd get teams, you'd get players like just start to brew up. Where COVID hit and all the tables kind of separated and we never went back, I feel like you didn't start generating that. There was like, oh, there's this one player on that one team that's really good, but they don't have a name, they don't have a story, they just have a good set of skills. And it's like, well, it's not all Liam Neeson here. Like, actually, that's a really good example, because I don't think anyone knows the character name of Liam Neeson in Taken. but
That's
they know
a really good
but
point.
they know John Wick's name.
I was going to say, is he also probably John? Like they usually tend to do that, don't they? Just call
Probably.
him John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, but when you can build the
John
characters, you can
Bacon.
build the characters, you can build the league, and we're sharing it with the chat. Sharing it with chat's been so cool. Like we've had a couple of hundred people live, and then like just hearing about it in the Discord and hearing about it in the conversations. It's been really, really, really cool. But I think unless anyone's got any, actually no. Before we jump into that, you also got to go up to Siege, Ben.
Yeah. Yesterday, I travelled to Essex to join the Siege Studios guys on the Paint Perspective podcast, which is a really awesome opportunity. So, people who aren't aware, I work for them. I do freelance work for them. So they wanted to get some of the staff and the artists on the show just to like talk about different topics. And so we had a little chat about like not burning out during large projects, which I think could be quite relevant for a lot of people.
Is that because they showed off your video of 120 orcs?
Yeah. I recently did 120 orc boys, which was a lot.
I can't think of anything worse, Trips. Could you?
I mean, I like batch painting, but batch painting in 8s and 10s, 120.
Yeah, batch of 120.
Luckily, I know a team where you only need 8 or sort of 12 people to play to play a game. But sorry, BT. So they got you on there to talk about that.
Yeah, and it was just a really good chat. It was a good show. I would recommend checking it out. It should be live now.
We will share a link to it on the channel when it comes out because it comes out on Thursday, right? Thursday?
It should be Thursday.
It comes out Thursday, so when it comes out, I've no doubt we'll all watch it, and I'll share a link on the community bit on YouTube as well, and I'll put the link in
a good segment of Blood Bowl in there as well.
Yes,
we got them talking about that.
How it is the superior game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wicked, dude!
And they have a little hobby hack segment, and the hobby hack I presented was
light swipe.
Said it was their favorite ever one. Well, no, it wasn't light swipe. I didn't do that because it's not really a hack. It's just a gimmick that worked once. We tried it again. It didn't work. But, the hack I presented, they did say was their favorite hack on the show. So check that out.
Find out what that hack was.
Yeah.
Hopefully the hack is hire a commission painter. That is the best hack that I have experienced so far. It goes Agrax, and then it goes befriend a commission painter.
Someone else.
Absolutely wicked. But the championship has been a lot of fun. However, the dice have been cursed. Now, our friend, the scientist Stevie, did break down the numbers on the undead dice ahead of the regular season and showed them to be a little bit more optimistic than other dice. So we benched them. But all dice, any dice, they've been hurtful and malicious, I think, is the only appropriate way to describe these dice over the last period of time. And it brought up the question about tilting, because chat were like, oh my god, like, is BT okay? Now, we're not going to spoil the games. If you haven't watched them, go watch them, because it is full on Blood Bowl in every sense. You've got failures, you've got successes, you've got despair. It's wicked. But it did bring up the question of tilting in Blood Bowl, of what have I put on the title of the episode, when Nuffle hurts us playing tilted. And it seemed like an opportunity for us to have a bit of a chat about it, because I think there are different ways to play Blood Bowl, and the championship is, I think, at the middlemost point. On the left-hand side, you've got, mucking about, casual play. I seriously don't care about the outcome of this. It's a one-off game. Like, I'm playing to learn. I feel like you are the least likely to be upset in that zone, because it doesn't matter to you. On the far right-hand side, you've got your personal competitive league. Then I think you've got tournaments just below that. And then you've got this one here, which I think is, I care about the result, but I care more about having a good game, which I think the championship, when you guys are playing, fits in with. But not being able to do anything is pretty hurtful, BT. So I guess the first point to open is, what do we mean when we say playing tilted? Because I think, Ben, if you could take us away and talk us through your experience over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. The first one was all right. I think this was good, and you raised it up in the Discord, and we got a lot of feedback on it, and I think people gave some really good opinions on this, where it's not necessarily angry, it's not losing your cool, it's not like yelling, it's not just freaking out that you're having a bad luck in a luck game. It's about like kind of losing control in like gameplay wise. So where you start to think, oh, all hope is lost. I'm just gonna just not think about my moves now. And I think that's a really important distinction, because while you can be totally cool and chill with your opponent on the outside, you could still be tilted internally and stop caring about the outcome of the game. And I think in Blood Bowl, it's very much it really does go wrong and go right at any point. And so while you might have 3 or 4 early turns of gruesome luck, I think it's really important still to play it out and to keep control, because that could happen to your opponent, and then it just balances it out. You could get some really lucky rolls. There was definitely a turn in the last game, won't spoil too much, but I did have one turn where I don't think I rolled less than a 4 on like 16 dice, and it just really brought it back. So I think it does turn around.
Yeah, I mean, the element you touched on some really great points there. The bit about being tilted is like the starting point. Like when you are getting upset, or when you start to get emotionally affected by luck, one way or another, you can go through this process of loads of different angles, like just anger, which we do see, and probably despondence is the other one we see, Trips, I think, where people just get defeated, and we've seen it in leagues, and you see it in tournaments where you're like, well, it's turn 4, Griff's gone, and I can't roll anything above a 2, and they've defeated themselves already, and they've already given up the game. And I think, Trips, we see it in tournaments to some degree, but what kind of effect can that have on both players?
It can definitely. I think the first thing it'll do, if you're feeling tilted because you're rolling low and everything's going wrong, you can just see the energy of the game often sap away, and both players, it becomes less fun and much more of a process of, we've just got to play this out in detail. And there's sort of, you get the 2 types of reactions of, I just don't want to roll any more dice, so I'll do the bare minimum to get through the turn. Or you see people chase the dice and go, well, nothing's going to work, so I'll just try the 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus thing. And you almost get to that snowball effect then of going, well, my dice don't work. And it's like, yes, but on a normal day, you wouldn't start your move with, I shall do the 6 plus thing to start off with.
Yeah. So when it comes to tilting and stuff like this, there's a couple of other games that it's very, 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 very prevalent in. I will speak to my experience in Magic the Gathering, because that is a real corker. And poker is the other one, where obviously a tilted expression comes from, actually I didn't know, which Discord did teach me about, comes from, pinball machines, right?
Pinball. Yeah.
Getting angry and shaking the machine and it tilts. But like in poker, it's a massive thing. So poker is a game of numbers. I don't play poker. I find anything other than the 5-card one just miserably boring. But I listened to a couple of other podcasts. Limited Resources is probably my favorite podcast out there, which is a Magic the Gathering one. And Marshall got into Magic from poker. And he said it's a massive thing, because if you tilt in poker, you end up just throwing good money after bad. And you can pull that down. You can see that in Blood Bowl as well, which is exactly what you two have both just said. Like, you start to focus on ways to catch back up. So, and it works in the same way as like gambling, because you're like, I'm a guy down, now I'm incentivized to make a big play to catch up to, instead of just going for the ones. And in Magic, it can happen, because Magic is a miserable game sometimes, where you just can't draw lands, and your opponent has the perfect cards, and you're just like, I can't do anything. Everything's bad, and you start playing tilted. You start losing your cool. And I watch a couple of streamers. Paul Cheon Humph is a great one, and you will see him in some games. He's like, this is just aggravating. Like, he actually takes a break. He's like, no, can't do this. I need to go take a quick walk, because I'm just so frustrated. And when I get frustrated, I can't think things through correctly. So you get like the chasing the money, and then you get the frustration at not processing things as clearly, which is what you were just saying, Ben. And there's a favorite quote of mine from one of my favorite Magic players of all time, LSV, Luis Scott Vargas, is he's like, always play to your outs. And I say that a lot in everything. And Blood Bowl is the biggest example of this, but it takes discipline, and this is where I think Blood Bowl sits. And I want to get your guys' feedback on this as well, because we were talking in the Discord yesterday, and we were talking, and Greenskin Phil, who's actually a coach in real life, right? He's a sports coach.
Yeah, basketball coach. Yeah.
So he brought up some stuff. And Trips, I know you and I love good sports documentaries, and because of this episode, I've been watching some Tom Brady and Bill Belichick stuff this morning, and it's really interesting because in professional sports, professional athletics that pretend to be sports, you get like that mindset. Sorry, I don't consider running a sport. I had this chat with Ben last week. It's like, but
That's gonna spark a bit.
sorry if that upsets some people. Great activity, not a sport in my mind. But you get this kind of like thing where that sports mentality is prevalent. Then in esports, Ben, I know you've watched some bits and bobs and you've chased some things in your past. Esports, there is a lot of, you get the coaches, you get the mindset, you get that kind of discipline that comes with it. Blood Bowl, I think, is on the end. I think tabletop games a little bit are just out of that place where they are games more than sports. So people don't consider using sports mentality, but we get affected by the same stuff. Surely not the physical injuries, although Trips and I have both hurt our back painting over the last sort of month and a half. You know, serious thing. You could bust up the old Nintendo injuries, but that's probably about it. But when it comes to tabletop gaming, that disciplined play is something, Ben, that I think you tend to see more at the, how's the best way to describe this, the play small, win small efficiency tournament lads. And I know you've been around the country doing all the big tournaments, and I find that the play of that kind of stuff is very much discipline. It's all about what Trips was just saying, like, right, what are your safe things to do? Always doing the safe things, always eating your vegetables, always doing the same stuff. You mentioned at the beginning of the episode, Ben, you're like, I've not struggled so much at tournaments. And I wonder if an element of that is because of your mindset at tournaments. And you're going in prepared to balance, to concentrate, to filter out the negatives, and just play to your outs. What are your thoughts on that?
I think,
You're
I
just
think you're
rolling
right.
better at tournaments.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's where you touched on with the tabletop distinction, though, is I think there's a key difference with the tabletop where we are ultimately playing a game that's got very, very heavy RNG. And so I think like that's a bit different to like field sports and things like that, where you know you've got, it's more skill game. Like there's not really RNG in basketball. You know, it's like so I think that there's an element of tilting more in tabletop than or like even like esports and other things, because it's an RNG thing, and that's something that you can't be helped, and that's where you can be really frustrated very, very quickly and easily. It's nothing down to your own personal skill. But like, when you say with tournaments, yeah, I think you're totally right with the mindset where you sort of, it's a lot easier to remind yourself like there's a few more stakes here. Just calm down. Just like have a think it through. You know you're in a situation. You're also you know, it's just like, what am I trying to get at? It's like you're when you know, when it's easy when if you're having a game like in a league night where you sort of just go every week and it doesn't really mean as much. I think when you've got some stakes there, you kind of take that time to, you're just like, no, we're here for a reason. Let's try and win it. It matters a bit more. Yeah.
But there's also that important thing with Blood Bowl, and it is very different to just a pure skill-based sport in that basis, as you said, with the RNG. You can be the best coach in the world, and you can get smashed if you rolled once. And you can be a terrible terrible coach, and you can roll sixes and get away with plays that should not work.
I can't remember off the top of my head who it was, but there is a player who's I think got 150 Black Orc games and never lost. And I'm just there, like, how is that possible? Because like, there must be games where you
Remember,
just
Black Orcs are very, 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 very capable of playing for the draw. So
even
there's
so,
a
if they got like one good Skaven coach and he had like a bad game, I feel like it's just gonna be like.
Yeah, but
You know?
but I think that comes back to what you were both sort of saying, especially like I think what Trips, I think you mentioned like you can roll well and it's very much a game of two halves. It doesn't feel like that, and I think that's what forces the tilt. Is you just feel like, this is just going to snowball. Like, there's no point rolling this dice. It's going to roll a 1. No, you know, and it can just kind of continue like that. But one thing I will call out, and I don't want to spoil the game for Monday night. So if you haven't listened or haven't watched the game for Monday night, just maybe skip 30 seconds ahead. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I don't, you know, the first half went a certain way. But the second half, I felt like there was an emotional reset of, okay, do you know what? First half was a bit garbage, but it's only 1-0. Like, I'm only down 1 touchdown. And I think being able to reset and refresh your mindset around, okay, this is a new, and this is Trips. I think you watch a lot of American sports and stuff, and you'll hear this all the time. Like when I come back from the first half, they're like, right, new game, it's 0-0. Like new game, it's 0-0. Like, how do we start this out of a new game?
Win this quarter.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a brilliant way of doing it. And you start playing to your outs. And this is again something that I sort of see from watching LSV play Magic, is he will set himself up for miraculous recoveries, which is just awesome and something I love and something I do when I play Blood Bowl all of the time, which is why playing against me with Skaven can be a little bit miserable sometimes. It's because I will set up a guy just in the place. Just because if these 3 things do happen, that's going to be awesome. That doesn't always happen, but sometimes it does. And then you're 4-0 up or something, and it's just egregious. Got my egregious word in there. Bing. But playing to your out, so LSV will play Magic, and he'll be like, right, I'm in a bad place. The only thing I can do is trade here, set this up, and if I draw one of these 2 cards in my deck, I can do this, and put it back. And he will set himself up, and sometimes he will draw that card. And then it's like, oh, I'm right back in it again now. And actually, you can do that in Blood Bowl for a lot of chances. Definitely not all the time, but even if you're down 3 guys, you can still set it up so, right, I'm going to create these opportunities for my opponent's dice to balance out. And I think that's one thing that I believe is a really good tip. If you are playing tilted, stop worrying about what you can do. Stop worrying about what your dice are not letting you do, and start setting up so that their dice have got to be better than average. That will get you right back in the game emotionally and board state wise. And that, again, I think is so huge when it comes to discipline. And I don't know if, because of Blood Bowl being this RNG disaster that is just beautiful chaos, like this game is fighting you and your opponent to show its own story that it was destined to be. And you are it's like sailing, right? You're sailing in a storm, you're racing your opponent in a storm, and you are both trying to get to one place, and the storm's like, lol, and just kind of trying to waterboard you. And that, I think, is a very apt description of Blood Bowl. You are just being waterboarded by the dice for the entire game. But like, try and balance it out, because I think you called it out on the stream, Ben, like or Ian actually might have done, like the dice are going to come back round, and it doesn't take long. I mean, Trips, you've played in this season, and we've had some horrible games in the pre-season when it comes to dice, but the dice can turn really quickly, right?
Oh, absolutely. You can literally go from reroll one across the board for a couple of turns, and then before you know it, you're like, I've just smashed armor, I've picked the ball up, I've handed it off, I've dodged out with a player that should not be able to do it. And being able to reset their mindset's really important there. I think your point you made about other people's dice as well was really important, because sometimes you can get tilted by your opponent's dice. because you can just sit there, and I'm pretty sure
Do
we
you
had
need
it in
armor breaks, Trips?
yeah, we had it in the preseason game where poor old Ian and I played, and Gnomes decided to come out and play like the hardest casualty team ever and just smash an entire line of scrimmage on turn one.
I do think Ian Warhammer got his channel revenge.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
But that's my point. Like,
He-
the dice come back around, and it may not feel like it, but Trips, I think one thing I'd like to really discuss is we played Death Bowl, right? 4-player game, and something happened that day that gave you about 7 to 9 months of nothing but ones. Genuinely did, right? And
sorry, this isn't tilting anymore. This is trauma.
this
So,
is yeah,
it's just
yeah. Tilting can lead to trauma. I think it's important. Like, and you are a very, I think, mentally disciplined guy. You're a very upbeat guy. You have a very positive mindset. But I saw you get defeated a couple of times on the back of that. And what did you do to work through that emotionally?
I think, I mean, maybe so. The background for those who don't remember was we played Death Bowl, and I think I would have scored 4 touchdowns if I'd rolled a 2.
yeah.
Playing Dark Elves who just need to pick the ball up or dodge, and they couldn't do that with rerolls to save their life, and that just continued through fun. So I think a really important part is if you feel like you're having a bad run like that, and it was getting to the point where when we went to tournaments, no player would want me to touch their dice.
Yes, that was a genuine thing.
It was becoming a thing. Was to almost lean into it and just accept it, because actually part of the pre-acceptance was, if I'm going to roll badly, I'm going to roll badly, and there really isn't anything I can do with it. I have tried every set of dice I own. Admittedly, I hadn't found the undead ice at that time. And there is a little bit of lean into it and go with it. I also think, and I had this at the last Dungeon Bowl tournament, rolling ones. The first game I just rolled ones for the entire game, and my opponent was really good about it. There was no gleeful rubbing it in and having a great time because I was rolling a 1. He actually wanted to see me pass at least 1 dice roll as part of it. And that helped not go down that deep pit of desire of going, have I picked up a set of dice that really do only have 1 number on
them? Okay, so when it comes to tilting, we've talked about some of the impacts, some of the causes, and I think it's best to kind of talk through some of the things that you can do if it's happening to you. I think we've covered how you identify that it's happening, right? Everything's bad. You're starting to feel angry, which is meaning you're not thinking things through. You're starting to want to chase the dragon and just take bigger risks to try and catch up, or you're starting to disengage from the game. And I think I'd like to start at that point there, because it leads on very nicely from what you were just talking about, Trips, like your opponent being involved. If you are tilting, Ben, and you start to be like, there's no point playing this game anyway, I can't roll anything, this is just miserable. Having played at a lot of tournaments, is this something that's you've come across, and how does it make you feel as a player?
I would really, really strongly recommend people to not try their hardest not to be like that, because you go to tournaments, and this is something that really bothers me, actually. Well, not bothers me, but really I feel really strongly about, is everyone's going to these events, and they often, they're paying to go to these events to get games. And so, like, yeah, there are going to be some games like that, but like, if I go to a tournament, I'm just like, I want 3 games of Blood Bowl. So to have someone who might have a string of bad luck just kind of refuse to engage in playing that game, or get angry and actively ruin it for me, or make me feel like uncomfortable, or make me feel like guilty in some regard, or like it just like negative feelings, that's going to really impact your opponent. So I think it's really important to sort of take those deep breaths. And I think it was Greenskin Phil actually also said in that Discord thing of like, it's a part of a good coach, or part of a good player, or a good sportsman is dealing with like defeat and loss, and like just have some fun with it. Like, acknowledge that this is just a spike of random stuff. Get involved in like the story that is telling in the game, and have that inside, like what we said earlier about that things can turn around and just play a bit steady. Let your opponent make some decisions. Just sort of like breathe and let it happen, but just be like laugh it off and things like that. Just really try your hardest not to get angry or defeated, because that can really impact negatively for both of you.
And when it comes to your opponent's dice just kind of self-imploding, like it can
Yes.
be hard not to be excited by the first couple. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like I said, I will, like Skaven's a cracking example. On defense, I'll set up, I'll take a blitz, I'll swing a gutter runner or two into the backfield just to put some pressure on. And then I want my opponent to fluff that roll. I want them to roll 2 into 2, fail the dice, to have a turnover. I want that to happen, but I kind of only want it to happen one time. Like you force, you take advantage of that. You got a bit of a, you know, you got the advantage of forcing of that turnover happening. But if it happens again, or you're playing against someone who just cannot pick up the ball for 3 turns in a row, then it comes back to that social contract element. I think, you know, you mentioned, Ben, about I'm here to play a game with you. Well, actually, at that point, it's down to you as a player to sportsmanship is definitely the key there. But like, you got to feel for your opponent a bit. Don't give up, but like, and carry on playing. But I think, you know, you've got to just be cool about it. And I think, Trips, you just sort of shouted at, you know, your opponent was like, come on, like, let's get you, like, this is crazy, like, come on, let's see you get some successes, like, come on, let's see you get some successes. And I think that's a really good way of being. The other kind of thing with that is, if you are in any kind of game, and especially when it comes to like tournaments or something, you're playing against someone you don't really know, and your dice are just trash, I would want, at the end of the game, somebody like Greenskin Phil, right? If I'm playing against him, I would want to earn them to say that game would have been very differently if your dice had played out. Because that, I think that's the mark at which you're like, right, did I tilt or did I play through and actually, you know, I made as many of the right decisions as I could as possible. And I think challenging yourself in that circumstance, not to just, you know, yeet the dice away and start, you know, cage diving for the lols, although that it can be quite entertaining, is to kind of be like, right, I'm still going to try and make the right plays. And Trips, I imagine this is how it was for you in that Dungeon Bowl event. Like, I'll make the right plays, and your opponent was very clear, like, oof, well, I mean, we've got Death Bowl in the background. You made the right calls so many times, your dice were just having none of it. And we all kind of went, oof, your dice were bad. Your plays were not. You can control your plays, but you cannot control your dice. And being able to go away from that and be like, you're having your opponent sort of say, nah, you played well, but your dice were rubbish, is kind of like, okay, well, that's as much of a win as I could take away from this.
Yeah, I really enjoy it when people say that. Like, I feel that makes me feel really good.
And it's really important, particularly at a tournament, that you do that, because otherwise you take one game into the next and you start playing game 2 like you felt game 1 went. It's quite cathartic to have that laugh about what went on, how did it go, and say, yeah, I just rolled terribly, it was horrible, hopefully I'll never roll like that again. And you need to sort of do that and move on to the next game, as opposed to just say, well, I'm going to roll ones all day.
Yeah, I like, I've definitely had the same experience where I've had a horrific game 1, but then, like Ben was saying, where you realize that you still make the plays in the hope that it goes right, and even if it doesn't, you still made those plays, and you've also, you can still then learn which plays you shouldn't have done or things like that, and you can still learn from it for game 2. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Whoa.
Your cameras have died.
I've killed the cameras because Discord is Discord, and there we go.
Yeah. And having that social contract is important, because there will be times you play a game and you get to the end and you do the quick summary with your opponent and you're like, I got ridiculously lucky. I should have not rolled 3 turns of 5s and 6s, but I did. And it's created a story rather than throw those dice away.
And equally, don't get tilted when that happens to you. Like, it's not about your own dice. It's like, if someone does roll those dice against you, don't feel like it's not ill deserved or anything like that. And specifically, don't say that. That just feels really, really awful for a player to do, because like, it's the play. Like, if you're if you're making lots of dodges, and when you're saying playing to their out, if a player is playing to their out, and even if it's a jammy play, like, and it goes well, like, that's the game. Like, you play, the rules of the game are designed for that to happen. Like, that is a play.
Yeah, they still
It
have
might
a
not be the
chance
best
to do
play,
it.
but don't tell your opponent that.
No, and you've got to respect their right to choose how they want to play as well.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
if they want to
Yeah.
play small, miss small, or if they want to go for the bigger plays because that's what they want to do to have fun, then that's absolutely cool.
Yeah.
But it's about
Someone
you,
does a long pass down to like a player and they
right?
catch it and they dodge out and score. That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
Blood Bowl.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. And you kind of just, yeah, I guess I think that the thing here is choose your reaction as opposed to your reactions just doing it for you. Like, Ben, you've been really good in a couple of games and be like, right, I think my best play here is to do this thing that's stupid. That's not you being like, oh, well, I can't do anything, so I might as well just try this. That's not you being defeated. That's you being, okay, do you know what? I think we'll go for this risk reward play. And you're choosing that. You're actually being a part of like, right, no, this is how I want this to go. This is what I want to do. And at the end of the game, your opponent might be like, you know, there was an easier way of doing that. Cool. That's a learning point. That's wicked. You know, obviously your mileage may vary when having those conversations. But like, I think being present, being aware of that and choosing how you react, that brings back that point of discipline, I think. Where and Blood Bowl and other games can be pretty horrific, and I think it's really funny, like it's hilarious that it is such an emotional game, but it is that like element of I'm not being allowed to play, this is a waste of my time. That is actually really hard to let go of, and that's true of Blood Bowl, it's true of Magic. If you just get mana screwed, like you just don't draw any lands, you're like, I don't like I can't do anything, I can't play. That is quite bad. But the thing is with Blood Bowl is, and that's where I would go point of, you know, similar to trips, like, okay, I'm going to roll ones, so I'm going to assume I'm going to roll ones. What's the best place I can put myself into? And then we'll see if we can't eke out a 2. And I think, you know, it all comes down to discipline, but I think what we kind of discussed is the why it's worth it. Like, actually, you're giving your opponent a good time. You're going to be able to walk away and be like, no, you know what? I was honourable in that. I didn't act like a child. I actually am proud of how I bounced back. But more often than not, and I don't know how you guys feel about this one, but like, I think if you stay true and put yourself in positions for their dice to fail a little bit and for your dice to rise a little bit, you will pull out a draw. You will pull out a win, and you can go away being like, no, do you know what? That was all right. Like that heroic recovery, but you have to choose to set yourself in that place, and you have to be, I think, functionally electing to make the risky plays. Because Ben, like if for example you were like, I think my best chance here is to make a big old throw, I feel like if you are choosing that, you're acknowledging the risk reward element to it, which potentially
you need to be aware that this can go wrong.
It potentially lubes up the emotions a little bit, so it's going to be a little bit less of a slap. So
and you sort of say that to your opponent, because there's times when you literally say, oh, I'm going to go for the crazy thing here because it's been going so wrong. This is my out. And then when you roll that 5 + 6 + 5 + 6 bloods, it becomes an excitement, and you can sit there as the opposition coach going, I can't believe they're going to do this. But you're sort of in awe, as well as going, just roll a 3, just roll a 3.
I remember this from like Wobble season 3. I was in the semi-finals against Simon and I think it was an Orc team, and last turn 16, and he was like, okay, well, I moved the Orc lineman into the end zone and took a 6+ throw. And as soon as he was like, right, all I can really do here is go for this 6+ throw, I knew, I was like, yeah, this is going to work. Like, this is the correct out to this situation. My only chance is to try and roll a 6. And he blooming rolled a 6, and we went into overtime.
Yep.
And because Orcs in overtime are the same Orc team that they started the game with, I ended up losing. And I was like, do you know what? There was nothing, a huge amount I could do with that. I wasn't particularly tilted, but it was that case of like, you make that choice and set up, the spikes are going to be brighter when it works. And I think that also is another case of tilting, is if you fail a lot of dice rolls, the times it doesn't work well, or the times it works really well, are the only two times it sticks in your mind. And you get that history of like, and a double skull again, and a reroll, and it's another double skull. Like, okay, you probably rolled the same amount of skulls across that game. It's just that they are grouped together. That means you're going to roll a lot more pows later, like statistically speaking. So there's that balancing point. So we've got discipline, we've got being a sportsman, and just being able to walk away going, right, actually, how would I want my opponent to be playing this game? I think is monumentally important no matter what type of game you're playing, whether it's Blood Bowl or not, especially if you're playing against somebody you don't know. You cannot say stuff like, you know, your dice are absolutely crazy. You can say like, ooh, you are rolling hot, this is impressive. Something like that. You're congratulating the scenario, but don't be like, you're only winning because your dice are good. That is that's not cool. Like, there's that social contract element. We talked about playing to your outs and really kind of calling it, not necessarily talking it through, but talking it through with yourself and being like, okay, what's the safe thing? What's the other thing? Which one do I want to shoot for? And just kind of owning your decision in that as well, instead of letting your emotions roll off with you and not disengaging from the game for yourself, because all you're doing is robbing yourself the opportunity of a bounce back comeback or a draw. Thing is, in Blood Bowl, if things go horrifically wrong, say horrifically, like if it's turn 3 of the second half and you've got 4 players left, yes, to be fair, that game is probably over now. But you've only got 6 turns to go, and if you've only got 4 players on the pitch, it's not going to take very long. So do the right things and just take your lumps and just play it out. But if it's turn 4 of the first half and you've down 4 players and they're about to score, fine, there's a whole other half coming. All you can do is try and set yourself up for the second half, which is what I think you see a lot of players do. And you know, I think we've seen this on the channel, Ben. Like, okay, I cannot score now, so my best incentive is just to punch your other guys to set myself up better for the second half. That's a pretty standard tactic, right?
Yeah, I have a really good anecdote for this as well. I had a recent fumble game against Dodge 22, and he had a really skilled up Dark Elf team against my completely unskilled minus a runner Vampire team, and I had a horrific first half. And there was a moment where I based the ball carrier off for his turn 8, and I said, "You might," or no, it's to turn 7. Said you might roll double skulls. He did, and then I got the ball back. Granted, he did manage to get the ball back and score, but like there was that out. But then also the second half completely changed, and I was down players, but then I just had a really good streak and played safely, removed his players, and then ended up drawing the game. And I was just like, I would never anticipate a draw going into this, but just playing like not thinking I've lost a few guys, I've lost some thralls, he's all got bludge. And I was just like, no, I'll just play steady. I'll try not to do anything too crazy, and then get some good removals, and then you can snowball and get a draw. Like a win would have been really challenging, but I was just like, no, I'll go for a draw here. It seems I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, and when it comes to a draw, like one touchdown is. I know I'm talking from my Skaven point of view. I'm like, one touchdown's fine. Like playing against an opponent, if I force them to score on turn 2 or turn 3, I'm like, woo, here we go. It's time for me to score 3 touchdowns. But like in a standard game of Blood Bowl, like 2-1 is like the most common thing. 1-1 is probably the second most common thing. Like you can score a touchdown. Like in 2 turns, if it's all bad, with a couple of average dice, you can score a touchdown if that's what you're worried about. And it's kind of like, all right, there are ways around it. And I personally find those ones more fun because you're creating a new scenario and you're learning some things. Like, okay, all right, I've got some stretch plays here. I've got a stretch play. Always have in your mind a stretch play. And I think in the long run, it helps you come pre-armed with stuff like in your back pocket. You're like, oh, I've been in this situation before. Like, right, I'm going to put this guy here in case it goes wrong, or I'm going to leave this guy in the back in case this goes wrong. And I think it helps tailor you, and then it kind of, if I'm the classic example of this. Sometimes I'm just like, right, let's receive, and I'm going to go full stack on one side, full fast offense, turbo it out, and I don't care. I'm just going to go and score. Your opponent drops the kick on the other side of the pitch, and you fail the pickup. That's on you. Yeah. Normally it doesn't matter because Skaven are awesome, but like it's just a thing. You kind of got to accept what you're going for, and the higher the risk, the more likely it is to fail, and you've got to be okay with that. So consistency, playing to your outs, being a good sportsman, not giving up. Anything else that we kind of want to take away? Because like you said, Ben, the Discord chat was really, really, really good. And there was some good anecdotes in there. And if you want to talk more about this, bounce into our Discord and have a good chat, because there's just a load of good stories there about times that people didn't give up. Now, the other thing I guess that we might want to talk about, which kind of extrapolates the play on aspect, is fouling. Like your opponent's like, yeah, well, if my luck's going bad, I'm just going to try and foul the heck out of them and balance it out, make it cost them. Blood Bowl is a game where that is an acceptable thing to do. But I think it falls into the category of, how do I set this up for future? How do I try, and even though I've lost, how do I try and in a league get an extra pass, get an extra touchdown, get an extra casualty to build up for the future? I think there's always that mindset, especially when you're playing league, and in tournaments, like you go, right, what are my tiebreakers if you're doing the horrible Games Workshop way, or what are the bonus points? How do we try and get like extra casualties, extra touchdowns? Like, how do I try and get the most out of this that I can? Is probably the last thing on my list of what to kind of process during a tilt. Even though I know that, well, tilt leads to all these things. Like, we're using tilt as a catch-all.
I think the one thing you can do, and particularly if it's at a tournament or a league with people you know, is ask people you trust. Because sometimes they will say, look, you are playing tilted, you can see you're doing it, you can see you're, and listen to people, and therefore be honest with your friends and people you know about it, because actually sometimes that honesty, it will be the little polite tap on the shoulder that they might need to go, yeah, I'm just going to walk around the tables for 2 minutes and go downstairs and buy some new dice and start this day all over again.
And if you are genuinely emotionally impacted, which I personally think is incredibly normal, like I really do think if you're here to play a game and you're being robbed of a game, like it can be very frustrating. Brute Farmer's like, just take 2 deep breaths, like take a deep breath and a short breath, and just calm that anxiety, which I think just helps you just clear and be like, right, this is a game. What's my goal of this game? Is it to have a good game? Yeah, okay, well, I can still have a good game. Like, even if I'm getting no luck, I can still give my opponent a good game, which I think is the quickest thing to forget when your world starts collapsing in around you, when it comes to luck. Oh, we've lost Ben. He's back.
Discord did the thing.
Discord, much better than Google, huh?
We might have to go back to it now.
Wicked. Right. Any more on that topic, guys?
The only other thing I think Orkster mentioned, I think a bunch of other people did as well, but I remember his one where it's just a game. Really is. There is like we touched on it a little bit, but it's important. It's easy to feel dejected, but really it's a game about orcs and Skaven throwing a ball around a fake pitch. It's really not that high stakes. You're there, like, are you there to crush your opponent at the most vital, crucial opportunity of their lives, or are
See
you
them
there
driven
just to
before you and hear the lamentation of the women? Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes you are.
Yeah,
Why are you playing it? That's the thing.
character.
Yeah. Just remember why you're playing the game. If it's just to have a bit of fun, then it's just a bit of fun. So
Yeah, love that. Right, before we wrap up, anyone got anything cool going on over the next week or two before we do the next pod?
I'm going to a small tournament on the weekend.
That's exactly right. We all are.
sorry.
So we've got our team tournament coming up this weekend, and it's looking like we've got the full bank of 48 coaches. We finally had somebody register a week and a half late, but we expected that to be the case. So we were planned and prepped for that to be happening. So that's going to be good. We wanted to use tour play, but tour play is excellent, except in a couple of very specific cases that we wanted to use it for. So it's been great getting everyone's rosters in, because we don't have to check rosters. That's nice. That's most of the work pre-tournament. And we've got our Google sheet that we've just corrected so that there's team stuff. So we'll be doing manual score slips on the day, which will be absolutely fine. And we've got scenarios set up for if coaches have last-minute dropouts. Now, on a team tournament, we really hope that isn't going to be the case, and we will do our very best to factor that in if it is.
Yeah.
My biggest fear is that like a couple of single players from a team go missing on the journey in, which is what might happen.
Yeah.
But
do try and let people know if you're not going to be able to make it.
Yeah, get in our Discord and let us know. This is going out Friday to the podcast and Saturday morning. So if you're listening to this on your way in and Jeff is coming on your team, but you've not heard from him for 2 days, please give Jeff a call and then let us know. Get ready to tell us on entry, because that registration thing is going to be super important on Saturday morning, because that's when we double check and deploy the teams so that we can figure out. We've even got a fail case so that if we've got an equal number of teams, but if one team's worth of people drops out, we've got the fail case of a big 10-man bottom battle royale as well. And Milton and Trips are there to be odd man in to fill out the numbers to make sure that we can maintain it. So if something happens that means it goes horribly wrong, we've prepped and we've prepped and we've prepped. And this is one of those circumstances, like we talked about all this, where we've done our best. And we can, if something goes wrong, we can say, do you know what? We put in the legwork, and sometimes things don't work out, because as the greatest man of all time says, sometimes it is possible to make no mistakes and still lose. That is not failure, that is life. It's my favourite Picard quote, and it is just the most true thing in the world, and it holds true on Blood Bowl. But Ben, you're going to be somewhere rolling sixes?
Yes, I'll be in Loughborough for the Home Nations Open. So there'll be some intense competition going on there. Fortunately, I'm not in the Home Nations team, so I think I'll be having a bit more fun. But yeah, it should be good. It should be good. So
Taking
I
Corn?
double booked that for.
Corn?
Yeah, I'm bringing Corn. Yeah, we're gonna get over the hump. I'm in with Corn. We're gonna get some wins. It's gonna be great.
You must be in the 20s for games with Corn so far?
I think so, yeah, or maybe even 30 now.
Nice. Still shooting for 88 this year?
This year? 88 in 4 years, I think.
That's all right. I think you're on track for that one. But
Yeah.
these things can catch up real quick. I remember Tiff in March was getting really aggy because she was like, I want to read 20 books this year, and I'm only on like 3, and this is rubbish. And now she's like 17 books in. So I was like, yeah, it can all come together. And yeah, so we've got a tournament coming up, and then we've got Monday Night Blood Bowl on Monday, round 2, which I'm very much looking forward to. We've got Black Orcs and Lizards. I'm assuming, Trips, you're going to run Lizards, and Ben, you're going to run Black Orcs because you both won with those teams in the first round?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Very
Do Black Orcs again. Fine.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that tells a good story. So I look forward to seeing everybody on Saturday, and then hopefully I look forward to seeing you all again on Monday night. But for me, that's everything today. Trips, anything from you?
Nothing else?
BT?
All good.
Okay, well, thanks very much for joining us. We'll be back soon with more Bubble content. Happy blocking. Don't get tilted. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to support the channel even further, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Or come join us on YouTube Members or in Patreon, where you can get exclusive access to some content, some loot, early access to basically everything we do, as well as regular competitions. Or you can pick up some Bonehead Podcast loot either on our website at boneheadpodcast.com. We've got the Dungeon Bowl things, we've got tokens and stuff like that, or on our Spreadshirt site as well. Everything you do just helps us make more content and hopefully do it of better quality. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy blocking.